the construction of the giant dam was eventually started back in 1957. But whilst that work went along according to plan, during the spring and summer of 1959, things had also begun to happen across the slopes of Monte Toc. Farmers and residents on the mountain reported cracks opening in fields and paths, doors and windows no longer closed properly, terraces deformed, trees tilted or shifted position, and in some cases fences and stone walls had even begun to misalign, with all of these changes obviously also being noticed by the Saudi engineers. As a result of this, Carlo Semenza brought in his son, Eduardo Semenza, who was a young geologist, to complete a more detailed geological assessment of the area. And around that same time, the company also installed a network of so-called survey markers. Now, these markers were simple but powerful tools. They usually comprised of small, unassuming metal bolts, pillars or stone discs, who were set with precision into the landscape to create fixed reference points. Each of them established a stable position in a three-dimensional space, allowing engineers to repeatedly measure distance, angle and elevation using theodolites and optical instruments, which in turn enabled them to detect even millimeter scale movements over time. And in this case, movements were soon detected. Initially, nothing happened suddenly. Instead, displacements were mapped and logged over weeks and months, and they all revealed a slow, continuing horizontal movement across the slope. At the same time, Eduardo had continued his geological investigations and had soon identified what appeared to be a scar of a vast prehistoric landslide in the area. And that was a critical scientific insight. Eduardo in fact concluded that the slope would potentially reactivate if it was destabilized by rising reservoir levels and the subsequent increasing pore water pressure. And he presented these findings internally to Saudi's engineers and management as soon as he possibly could. And his early mapping is now considered one of the clearest missed warning signals in the entire Vajont case. But at the time, his warnings were not seen as significant enough to actually halt construction. The prevailing belief was that the mountainside was generally safe and that any potential movements would be gradual in nature. Because of that, it was also believed that it could also be monitored, managed and controlled. By 1960, the Vajont Dam had soared to a breathtaking height of 261 meters above the sea, which meant that Carlo Semenza had achieved his goal. He had built one of the tallest dams in the world. But as it turns out, the terrain itself had other plans.